joined this afternoon by Cambridge Police Commissioner Christine Elo, Lowell Police Deputy Superintendent Frank Nobrega, Lowell Police Deputy Superintendent Steve Gendro, Dave Solid, the Chief of our Cold Case Unit, State Police Sergeant Tony DeLucia, who's assigned to our office, State Police Trooper Mark Delaney, also assigned to our office, and Cambridge Deputy Superintendent John Boyle. This morning, an individual named Kevin J. Leno, who's 38 years old, was indicted for 2 separate acts of first-degree murder. One involves the killing of the photograph which you see here on the right of those two, of Gary Melanson. Mr. Melanson was 54 years old when he was beaten to death with an aluminum baseball bat under the Rogers Street Bridge in Lowell in 2010. The second count of first-degree murder relates to the murder of the individual in the second photo on the left side, and that is Douglas Leon Clark, who was 30 years old when he was intentionally given a fatal dose of heroin, what is sometimes referred to as a, quote, hot shot, by the defendant, Mr. Leno, who's depicted here on my left, after there was a dispute. Mr. Clark was initially believed to have died of an accidental drug overdose by the banks of the Charles River in Cambridge in 2012. I'm going to talk first about the facts of Mr. Melanson's death. On the afternoon of November 29th, 2010, Lowell Police received an anonymous call reporting that there was a body under the Rogers Street Bridge. Gary Melanson's body was located sprawled over a collapsed tent. He had numerous visible wounds. An autopsy conducted by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner concluded that he had suffered blunt impact injuries to his head, his torso, his extremities, and those included fractured ribs, a collapsed lung, and a fractured left arm. His manner of death was initially ruled by the medical examiner's office to be, quote, undetermined. 2 years later, on August 2nd of 2012, the Cambridge police received a call of a man apparently unconscious in the area of 975 Memorial Drive, which is on the banks of the Charles River. Upon arrival, the police located the body of Mr. Clark, who went by the name Rage. Mr. Clark was known to the police as being a member of the unhoused community. He had been living in the area of Harvard Square at the time of his death. Subsequent testing at the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner of the victim's blood revealed the presence of a substantial concentration of morphine, codeine, ethanol, and gabapentin. At the time of his death, the manner of death was recorded by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner as accidental, the result of acute and chronic substance use and overdose of substances. In 2018, while the Massachusetts State Police were working on an unrelated investigation involving Mr. Leno, police discovered his possible involvement in 2 additional homicides with very little detail at that point. Our cold case unit, in collaboration with state and local police, were subsequently able to establish probable cause that the 2 victims that had also been killed by Kevin Leno were Mr. Melanson and Mr. Clark. The allegations are that when Leno was 23 years old, he and Gary Melanson were both unhoused. They were staying in the same area near the Rogers Street Bridge. And Mr. Leno attacked Mr. Melanson because Mr. Melanson continued to light fires to keep himself warm. Mr. Leno allegedly objected to that because he felt that when you have a fire, it brings police and fire personnel. It attracts attention to those living in that unhoused community. He had indicated to Mr. Melanson that he did not want him doing that. And when Mr. Melanson did not obey those instructions, the allegation is that Mr. Leno rushed Mr. Melanson, who was much smaller and much older than he was, beating him and striking him repeatedly with a metal baseball bat. After he had inflicted some serious injuries, Mr. Leno then finished that attack by urinating on Mr. Melanson. Evidence also showed that in the 2012 incident, Mr. Leno, who was by that time 25 years old, had given Mr. Clark a quality of heroin of sufficient strength that he knew would cause a fatal overdose. The allegations are that Mr. Lino was at that time living with Mr. Clark and many others, a group of unhoused individuals, by the Harvard Square MBTA station. Mr. Lino is alleged to have taken it upon himself to drive out those individuals in the unhoused community who were using drugs, again, because it attracted attention. And at that point, having had a confrontation with Mr. Clark, Mr. Lino is alleged to have resolved to punish Mr. Clark because he was not abiding by the instruction not to be using substances. And he made clear that he intended to poison him using an amount that he knew would cause an overdose. Obviously, these allegations demonstrate a very violent pattern of behavior, alleging a targeting of some of the most vulnerable members in the community. And the fact that both of these cases were initially ruled either accidental or undetermined by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner have left family and friends of both Mr. Melanson and Mr. Clark without answers as to what actually happened to their loved ones. And through this painstaking investigation and the development of new evidence, we were able to uncover the truth behind the deaths of both Mr. Melanson and Mr. Clark. Mr. Lino is currently serving a life sentence on a second-degree murder conviction from Suffolk County, which involves very similar allegations involving the death of another member of the unhoused community in Charlestown. Concurrent with that life sentence from Suffolk County, Mr. Lino is also serving a 40-year sentence for a conviction for a charge of deliberate homicide out of Montana, in which the allegations are strikingly similar and also involve the beating death of a member of the unhoused community. This case is really an example of the reason why I created our cold case unit in 2019. It is when we are able, in collaboration with both our state and local police partners, to really dedicate the resources to looking at new evidence, to developing new information, and being able to get to a place where we are able to know the truth about what has happened and to begin the process of holding people accountable. We are in the process, we've spoken to some family members today, we are in the process of making contact with others. I have been asked to relay to you their request for privacy at this point. This is obviously fairly startling news after such a long period of time, to understand that there is something else about what happened, and also that we are in the process of holding someone accountable. I am very grateful to our cold case unit and to our state and local partners for the work that brought us to this point today. I'm going to turn it over to the Commissioner from the Cambridge Police Department, Christine Elo.
Good afternoon. I just have a couple of brief remarks. Today marks an important day in the seeking justice in the death of Douglas Leon Clark. Really appreciative to the detectives from the Cambridge Police Department and the District Attorney's Office for their dogged detective work. And we really hope for the Clark family that this arrest brings a measure of peace and closure. Thank you.
I'll take any questions people have.
And so how long has he been serving this life sentence and the 40-year sentence? How long has he been in the system?
He's been serving the Suffolk sentence since 2019.
So how come it just came about now that you were able to make the
This is really the result of a lot of work, as was the Suffolk case. It's my understanding that was also a years-long investigation. And I think, you know, and I say this often, especially when we are in the process, as you know, we have had great success in bringing a number of old cases to conclusion. And often people say, well, what will it take? And sometimes there is an amazing change where there's a sudden piece of information that brings you a place. But the vast majority of these cases, it really is long, and as the Commissioner said, dogged work, piecing things together. And that is certainly the case here. This is an investigation that has gone on for a very, very long time that brought us to the point of having those grand jury indictments returned this morning.
Was there DNA that was collected at these scenes evidence that made the connection that helped kind of bring us all together?
This is really not a forensics case. It is the result of investigation, development of leads, interviews, all of those pieces.
Were these unhoused communities helpful in this?
People have been helpful throughout the process over the years of people being talked to.
And, sorry, is there?
Sorry.
So what will happen to him now? What will he be
There'll
charged
be an
with? What's the
arraignment
next
date. We're in
process?
the process of scheduling an arraignment, having him brought from custody to Woburn Superior Court. He'll be arraigned on the 2 counts of first-degree murder. We'll obviously let you know that when that's gonna happen.
And so these aren't called cold cases necessarily because you thought they were closed cases, really.
Right, we refer them really as uncharged, and people think cold means nothing's happening. There is a very long, as I mentioned, it's often a very, very long process before we get to the point of being able to charge somebody. And that's what's been ongoing in this case. And, you know, it's always my hope when I'm able to come here and say that we have charged, that for families who are still waiting for those answers, they understand. You know, these were cases, unique in some ways, where this was not the typical, we knew someone had been the victim of a homicide and we were looking for answers. No one thought they were the victim of homicide. And yet, gathering this information over the years and putting it together, and really that determination and doggedness got us to a place to learn that there was a much different story. And I always hope that one of the messages from these events is that for people who are waiting, we do not forget and we do not give up. And the fact that it's taking time in no way means that we are not gonna get to that point of charging someone.
So if it wasn't DNA, can you tell us a little bit more about what helped kind of?
We'll have a lot more information at the arraignment. This is a case of really taking information, developing things, having interviews in the way that we would have solved cases before DNA.
And any background on him as far as like, was he from Massachusetts? 'Cause you mentioned Montana.
He has some connection to Lowell, some long connections to Lowell. He had some family members who lived there. He has obviously lived in a variety of different communities and in different settings. He was in Montana for some period of time. There's some information that he may have lived in other states, but did always seem to maintain some connection to Lowell.
So if it wasn't necessarily DNA, you're mentioning that it was interviews, was there a witness that was able to help piece this together for you guys?
Lots of people were helpful in putting it together.
Do you have a spelling for his first and last name?
Yes, Kevin, traditional spelling, and the last name is Lee.